Okay everybody, so there's something I'd like to show you today. This is probably something you didn't know. Okay, they're just basic facts about the U.S. government that I think should be, kind of recognized. Because they're dealt with every day. So, 1. The FFL, the permit to legally buy, sell, build, modify, and repair firearms and ammunition. Okay? Something a lot of people know, but a lot of people are in the dark about. 2 is Class 3 FFL, the permit to legally buy, sell, build, modify, and repair automatic weapons, including suppressors, extended magazines. It's basic knowledge in most states, at least to the government. But a fact, 3 facts you probably didn't know. In some states, people who have a mental illness and even a criminal record can legally buy a firearm. You say, like, how is this? Well, people get expunged. The government has rules about people that commit crimes. 10 years later, they can own a firearm. They can own a weapon because it's not on their personal or private record, because the only people that can see it is the U.S. FFL, ATF, FDA, whatever. And the next one is fact. Millions of people over the U.S. belong to this organization, the NRA. You probably heard of it, National Rifle Association. It uses most of its earnings to pay both politicians and lobbyists to change laws, to influence others, and to support them. To support people's rights to buy automatic weapons, explosives, to own large companies like you might have seen in Iron Man. Iron Man is kind of cliche, like future, everything, but there's some amazing shit out there. There's weapons technology that companies get billions of dollars from the U.S. government every day just to research this new technology, to be able to say we're bigger and better and we can destroy your ass in a single push of a button or a click of a switch. So. And another fact, anyone can make a bomb, but did you know you can obtain a permit to make a bomb legally from the federal government? Check it out. .gov. Go to the federal firearm tobacco and alcohol, whatever way you want to say it. It's just it represents the same site, because that site gives you a lot of power as an American citizen. But it's not necessarily, just because that's power doesn't mean it's good or right power. It's just dangerous shit. And then something you probably didn't know about corporations, like private military security firms like Soldiers of Fortune. You see that magazine all the time. Dillon's, Walmart. You can go pick it up at the your local convenience store. Sometimes they have a good selection of magazines. So. But anyway, it's Soldier of Fortune supports these companies, supports their ideals, supports their things and their funding and what they stand for. But I don't have any problem with it, but it's kind of corrupt. Blackwater Private Security Company. Blackwater pays more than the U.S. government. In Blackwater, you serve a single small term, like a couple weeks or a month, 6 months, a year. You get like 100,000, close to 100,000, or sometimes a little bit more, for each one of those terms. And guess what? Same happens on a fishing trawler. Catch those big king crabs you like to dig into. You can make the same money working on a fishing trawler as you can in Blackwater. Probably don't have to, catch crabs, but you gotta shoot little kids and, shoot people and protect your country. And it's probably, a harder job, because then you have to deal with the after effect with this, getting your leg blown off or disabled for the rest of your life. You can do that same thing on the fishing boat, but in a different way, One couple weeks on a fishing boat, you make $100,000. You can do more than that in a year in Blackwater and have, really, really good benefits, better equipment. But here's another thing. Blackwater has better benefits than the U.S. government. Very, very true. Medical care is better. Just about everything you can get at Blackwater is like at least 5 times better than, their weapons training, equipment, benefits. They're even sometimes, they get, it's still like a uniform that represents the same thing as American freedom, but they're making tons and tons of money off those soldiers. Okay, and the soldiers are fighting for the same thing as the U.S. military, but they're getting better pay, better equipment. Everything is better about private security, except the right thing you're doing, And at least in the military, you're fighting for less money, but you're doing what you know is right, and you think to be right, and your family and your friends and all the people look up to you for it. But Blackwater's crap. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, Blackwater has better training and better equipment than even training, especially training. That's how they certify you for that equipment. So here it is. And then Blackwater is owned by a corporation and that CEO, chief executive officer, is paid more a day than the President of the United States in probably at least a year. It's actually another fact. The President gets maybe less than a couple $100,000 a year, plus his basic needs like food and, electricity, put a White House over his head. And, a CEO in Blackwater will be paid more in a day or more in a few hours than that president is paid, an entire term or something. So, but yeah, those are just some facts I thought you should know, and I'll put them up to, I'll put them in front of you so you can kind of take a look a minute, see what that, kind of have sloppy writing, but people are different. So, okay, that's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you for listening. This is a real pressing issue. Guns, all that are playing into a lot, just about every part of life. It's to show that we're more powerful, that we're more corrupt. It does both. Horrible things are done with guns and weapons, but it's like what they're fighting for, as the government always says, is peace, freedom. What's free and what firearms represent, or guns or bombs or rockets or missiles or the Iron Man suit even, is a form of power, form of destruction. 1,000 AK-47s probably do, even 1,000,000 AK-47s or whatever probably do more damage than 2 or 3 nuclear bombs. So probably, you've seen that off Lord of War. Cool show, but it has a meaning still. It's not like that. It has a lot of funny parts and inappropriate parts, but it still has a dedicated meaning. So, this 10 minutes is up almost, so give you about 10 minutes every other day. I'll talk to you about something different, okay? Well, thank you. Bye, and have a wonderful day. And just think about this stuff next time you go to your local gun store, or anything like that. So bye.